out on the screen. Oh, all right. Okay. So I'm going to go live here for a sec, do a little intro. Hi, this is Kim Cesaretti from the Ocean County Artists Guild. Welcome to Color Theory and Practice. This is session 2. I'm going to go over first what we did last week. Last week we took a look at different. Now let's go to the presentation. Go through that really quick as a review. Go to studio for a second here. And oh. Where's the interact? It's not letting me. There we go. Okay. All right. Let me just check and make sure that's on there. Is that on there? Oh, I'll dismiss that. Okay. All right. All right. So I'll go to the slideshow really quick. Okay, it's showing what I'm doing. I have to check and see if it's actually showing. Okay, so we went through color theory first. That was part 1, so I'm just going to go through, give you a rundown. We went through the traditional color wheel, you know, the way things work in a perfect world when we mix colors. We have the primaries, the secondaries, and the tertiaries here. And this is, again, what we would experience in a world where the primary pigments are pure pigments. Next, we went through the traditional color wheel, again, primary, secondary, tertiary colors. Next, we went through all the different color schemes, primary, secondary, complementary, and we took pieces of work from art history to help illustrate the different color schemes. Analogous, warm versus cool, and triad, and then we have these 3 examples, well, actually 4, 2 for the warm versus cool, and split complement, double split, and monochromatic. Here are some examples from art history of those. We went through the benefits of learning about color schemes, and we began with how to put the theory into practice, again with what's called the color bias wheel. And what it does is there are no pure primaries in the world of pigments, and that's why the primary colors are left blank. Okay. Pigments lean. So red either leans orange or violet. Okay. Blue leans either violet or green, and yellows will lean either green or orange. And that's the reality of pigments. And understanding that helps us, it enables us to mix colors, pigments in our paints with better accuracy so that we can learn how to mix whatever color we need or want. And understanding pigments and the way they lean is an integral part of being successful at that. Oh, and if I go back really quick, just wanted to remind you that the color bias wheel, the author of that color wheel is Michael Wilcox, and he wrote a great book called Blue and Yellow Don't Make Green, which is where I found a lot of great technical information and inspiration on color mixing. I recently found this other color wheel. It's a pigment color wheel by Bruce McAvoy. And this color wheel arranges paint pigments indicated by the P number. And we talked about the P numbers that were on the tubes of our paint around the color wheel. So here we have a loose representation of a wheel. And as you can see, all the different paint pigments that you would find in a paint tube or a pan or a pencil or whatever is arranged very, it almost looks like chaotically throughout this color row. You don't see anything that's purely this or purely that. And it's because of the way, again, the pigments lean, and understanding that, again, helps us uh, with our color mixing. This particular, you can download this graphic. I list the website, it's handprint.com, and that's the author of that website. And again, I need to send you guys a link to this presentation so that you can see. And the next thing we went through is, okay, color mixing. Okay, so we went from, the theory to the practical, and now the hands-on of the practical, or the applied, uh, the application of the practical application of color theory. And that is based on, you need to use the paints that you have in your box, mix each of the colors with each color you have, and the 2-color mixing chart serves as a great place to start to help you identify colors for your painting that are in the general ballpark of what you need. So that's what we did here. Now, because this is a mirror of that, so that's why I grayed out part of the handout, so that you could just focus on the one part of the triangle and get it mixed really quick. Okay, so here you see that grayed out. And this one is an example of the oils chart. Yeah, this is the oils chart that showed up there. Before I had the neat little printout that I gave you. This was the messy experiment. And next was color mixing. Okay, this is the acrylics chart. Same premise. In this one, I didn't leave the mixtures of the primaries blank. That's also included, but again, it's a mirror image. That's you can see the difference between the acrylics and the oils. I'll show that on the overhead in a sec. And we went through Richard Schmid and his quote of, "I know the simple fact when painting from life, all I have to do is correctly identify a color I see in my subject," which we're going to get to right here. We're going to actually look at a real subject as a specific pigment or mixture of pigments. We can look at that apple. You can look at your chart and figure out what primaries you need in order to mix the colors in order to paint that apple the way you see it. That's where we're going. That's our goal. And he says, oh, and then put it on my canvas in the right place. Yeah, that's another challenge, right? Nothing more, see it right, mix what I see right, and then stick it where it belongs. And that's what he said. Richard Schmid in Alla Prima 2. He was a modern painting master. He recently passed away in the last year. He wrote this great book called Alla Prima, and Alla Prima 2 is the book that I have, and I'll try to bring that in for you guys to look at, because it's a really, really great book. I would call it one of the painting Bibles, and I believe that every artist should have that book in their collection of books. That, I think, Blue and Yellow Don't Make Green is another great book. Technical book to put. Now this book, the Alla Prima 2, he explains a lot of there is a lot of technical information in there, but it's not a step-by-step how-to. There are pages where you'll see process shots of paintings that he's done, but he mainly talks about different areas about color, value, composition, and he talks about that in general and what his approach is. In particular, what's useful in the book is that he talks about common problems that artists face or that beginners face, and how to mitigate these problems that you have when you're painting. So that was very useful too. But just remember, though, it's okay to paint the colors you feel instead. So the colors that you see in this apple, excuse me, just know that it's okay no matter what you're working on, whether it's a still life or a landscape or any other subject, a portrait. It's okay to turn up the colors that you see and put yourself into it and your own interpretation. So while yes, during this class we're mainly trying to do this activity with the thought that, yes, we're trying to match the colors that we see just so that you can have that experience of how to be proficient at observational drawing and painting. It's not the end all be all. This is just, it's just there to help you and to help you understand how color works, and how you could use it to your advantage, so that you can use it to your advantage to create whatever feeling or interpretation you like, you want to put out there. We talked about physical properties of pigments and paints, transparent versus opaque, the purity. What is it? What does a P number mean? If a color has more than one P number, it's possibly a color that you can mix from other colors that you have in your box. So if it has more than one P number, know that you might not have to buy that extra color. If you like that color, you can probably mix it. You can save money. You can be more efficient. So that's another reason. Chemical versus natural. Hmm. Um, I'm sorry, what? Then the last one refers to a P number. Oh, you want to, where the P number is? What is the P number? The P number is a P number. And cobalt blue is cobalt blue has numbers listed on the back of it, for example, on the tube. It says pigment, and then you'll see PB29, PB15:3, and PW6. That's an example. So if you have a tube of paint, it might have that P number on there. If you need me to, because sometimes the text is really, really small. So I invite you to take out your paints and take a look at some of these P numbers. Now, the pigment black, this is ivory black, and this only has one P number, PBK9. That's it. It's just one P number. Titanium white is another example of one P number. Okay. Pull out some paint tube that you have, and I want you to read out to me if you can see it. Numbers that are on the tube. If your paints have P numbers on it. Yep. Pigment red. Yep. Okay, so that's a pure pigment. That's an example of a pure pigment. It doesn't have any other. There are no other pigments included except for that one. So that's a pure. Yes. Okay. Okay, so there's two. There's two numbers there. Two pigments. Okay. Okay. Maybe. Okay. Cool. I have got a lizard crimson. It says PR101, PR176, BK11. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So you have more than one? No, I have okay. So I guess it just, yeah. They have the same P number. Well, it could, maybe there might be more of a filler in one of the, I don't know. Um, it could be in that case that it's a case of the what was I going to say? The tinting strength. Maybe one has more better tinting strength, or one might have more of that pigment in the tube than the other. It could be that. I'm not exactly sure, but that's good to know. Yeah.
chart 101. What does that mean? Is that there's three different, what does 101 mean?
101 is a number they assign. It's P what 101? Okay, so that's pigment red 101. There are different reds. So they've assigned 101 to that particular red. That's what that means. So like one, all right, so I'd say, what was it? PBK 9 for ivory black. There are also different blacks. And those blacks, there could be different blacks that have pure pigment numbers, but that are different, you know, because so like I said, not all blacks are the same, not all reds are the same. Because it has it might have a different chemical composition or ingredient in it. It's assigned that number based on the fact that, okay, this pigment is different than it's a red pigment, but it's different than other reds, and its chemical composition, the ingredient, is different than what's included in the other reds, so they assign it that number.
I have a lamp black and an ivory black, and the lamp black is made from carbon from soot, and the ivory black is made from burning bones.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So that's an organic, you know, organically based pigment, and the source is different. Those blacks, when you use them and mix them with other colors, you're going to find that they behave differently. Some blacks reflect more warm, and some blacks, like the ivory black, it reflects a little bit more blue, so it's a little bit cooler. So sometimes when you mix, and you might have found this through your mixing exercise, if you mix an ivory black with one of the yellows, you might get this muted green out of it because it reflects blue. But a different black might not reflect so much blue. So it might actually be more muddy. It could be more muddy, or it could be maybe a warmer green even. That's why it's important to do the mixing exercise so that you can understand, okay, this, when mixed with that color, results in a green, but when it's mixed with this other black, maybe it looks a little bit, maybe it looks more brown. Like it could be a difference like that. Yep.
Like this is a lizard person, and then in parentheses.
Okay.
Is there a difference between and a tube that's not much?
Yes, sometimes when it's listed as a hue, that means that it's not. It's a modern chemical composition of an old color that perhaps might have been made with ingredients that were toxic. So, like sometimes you'll see cadmium-free reds because cadmium is a toxic material. So, because of being more environmentally conscious and for health and safety reasons, newer pigments have been developed to replace some of the more toxic ingredients in our paints. So they've come up with an equivalent that with safer ingredients that visually reflects the same color or close to the same color without, again, it being toxic. So it still might not behave exactly like that traditional cadmium loaded color that we might have come to know and love, but that's why they call it hue. Yeah, because for that reason, because it's evolved into, yeah. Yes.
And it says that it's blue.
Mm-hmm. Black is B, capital B, small k.
Okay. All right, so this is B36, and underneath it says PW4, so does that mean it's
Yes. Yes, a PB4 is what, yes. PW4. Yeah. Yeah. Cerulean blue does have white in it. Cerulean blue also has I believe, phthalo blue in it. And phthalo blue reflects some green, and that's why we put cerulean blue. We arranged our paint pigments. We arranged paint pigments according to the color wheel, and you can do that with your paints. If you have your paints today, I invite you to take uh, that printout that I gave you of my. All right, so we created our own color chart. Oh, yeah, let me go back here. Here we go. Here we arranged whatever tubes we had in accordance with the color wheel. Now, I don't have that with me, which is fine because what we have is we have this color. Use this to arrange your color. And let's see. Let's go back to this exercise of now that most of us have our paints now. I want you to arrange the paints that you have, like in around the color wheel, kind of like I have illustrated here. Now in this box up here, I have some extra colors like the ochres and the sienna and the burnt umber and the black and the white. But here, I want you to take the different primaries that you have. Take the reds, the yellows, and the blues that you have and see if you can arrange them around this color wheel. Based on, now you're not, that means that we're on this color wheel where you see a yellow, a pure red, and a pure blue. None of your paint tubes are going to be on those points. Okay, because the paint pigments that you have, like for the red, for instance, you're going to have a red that reflects more orange, or you'll have a red that reflects more violet. So you're going to arrange your paint tubes around this according to which way your pigments lean. Like for example, the blues. The cerulean blue reflects more green. Cobalt blue and ultramarine blue reflect more violet. Okay. For your reds, your cadmium reds, if it's cadmium red, cad red light, that's going to be in the red orange category, whereas your alizarin crimson is going to reflect more violet. Or your quinacridone red, your quinacridone crimson is another crimson. Those quinacridone reds, magenta, there's quinacridone magenta, that would also fall in the violet red category. With your yellows, you have yellows that reflect green and you have yellows that reflect orange. So the cadmium yellow, well, with the exception, cad yellow light reflects more green. Your cad yellow medium is going to reflect more orange. So you put that there. And that's really all you have to do. So let's, have this exercise because it's important for you to recognize, be able to know. This will help you get to know your pigments better. Yep, just put them around that color wheel. Arrange them according to whether or not they are what I would say warm or cool. So we have warms and cools of each primary.
When was it? It looks like it goes, well, I only know which one.
Sounds good. All right. Guys use that. All right. Okay. So there we go. Okay. So we went through how to create your own two color mixing chart. Some of you did finish that. And it's basically we put the primaries on the top, along the side, and then the triangle here is accomplished by, we pick one from the row and one from the column. You mix them together and you get your resulting color. And that's what this is all these colors are a combination of. That's the ultramarine blue with cad red light over here, and then down the line, then mixed with cadmium red, then mixed with alizarin crimson, and mixed with the cobalt blue, cerulean blue, and the cobalt, and then it would have repeated there. So that's how we made the charts. Charlotte, I gave you a blank. Here again are that was another example of a completed chart. So next we're going to go through how to do a color study. So I'm going to give you an overview with some samples. Okay, so here is a sample of a color study. So I basically used my color chart to choose the color mixes that are close to what I would need in my painting based on the photograph. So, that was a matter of, this was acrylic. So I looked at my acrylic chart, I looked at my photograph, my reference, and I discovered that based on the colors that I saw, that these are the primaries that I would need to mix the colors that were in that. All right, so based on the findings, identify the primary colors that you need in order to mix. So in this, I say draw boxes, but I gave you guys a template that already has the boxes on it, so that it'll be easier for you to do the color study. And that's this. And there's like a faint square here to actually paint, to do the actual study based on the swatches that we come up with. And I would label, of course, I labeled the colors. And from there, these were the colors for the color scheme that I mixed from here, based on those primaries. And right here is just a postcard size painting within a rectangle to do just this small color study for the painting. And based on this, you would evaluate and readjust as necessary. So this is useful, if before you go and work on your masterpiece, your large work, this is a great little worksheet to use to help you plan out your color composition. So, and it doesn't matter what medium you're working with, whether it's watercolor, oils, acrylics, gouache, you can use, this method to do this little postcard sized color study to help you plan for that bigger piece. And I just, limited it to the major colors. It's almost like you're making a poster. You determine you want to focus on this area, that area, that area, and you kind of map it out. You almost do kind of like a color map, and just place, the different major hues that you want to use on it. Here's another example of this one, kind of yellowed, but this was in oils. And the interesting thing on this one is that you see there's a whole bunch of colors that I came up with that I wanted to use, and then I mixed all these different combinations. But down here, this is what I mainly focused on. It ended up being a very limited palette. But I needed all of these colors in order to get there. Okay, but the great thing about doing this is that, okay, I know what these colors are made of, these few colors. So I don't have to sit there every time when I set out to do my painting and mix big piles of all of these colors, because I have it all figured out. So now I know that, okay, I know what colors make up these colors, and I'm just going to mix these. And how did you do that? Mm-hmm. The first bottom color. Mm-hmm. The very first orange color. Yeah. Okay, so how did you do that? How did you mix that? How did you know that? Based on what was up here. Is that the same one up here? Yeah, so this one translated to that. And that's just a little flower. The little flowers on that on the costume. But there were other colors in those flowers too, and you see there's some accents there. The darker accents, the cooler accents, they're also in there. So that was warm, like almost like a peachy color, and then there were some rose colors that I put in there because the flower that's in shadow has cooler reds in it, and the one that's facing the window has the warmer. And that's where the observation comes in, is noticing what's the difference in we talked about the temperature of color too. There were more peachy tones here towards the light, and we have cooler pinks and deeper grayer, more violet tones in the flower that's back here. In reality, if I held up these two, they're the same silk flower that's on there, but depending on the lighting conditions, it's going to look different. So, rather than make the assumption of, oh, look at that cute pink flower, and I'm just going to mix pinks and I'm just going to plop it on there. Well, no, you really have to look at what's there. You have to figure out, well, how is it different? How is this pink different from that pink? It's a comparison game. You compare. How are the blues on the shadow side different from the blues on the light side? Other than just value, there's also a slight variation in the hues because we have more grayed out. I have these more grayed out blues, and then I have these more intense blues where the light is that are on this side as opposed to that side. Oh, hmm? Yeah, I'll pass this around. Yeah.
Before you start, you decide I'm going to do a tryout or late complimentary. Too. Like in this case, I may have, because I knew that the dress was blue, so I might have taken some artistic license there to add a little bit more a peachy tone to that flower, flower on the dress. So that's another way to apply the theory is go back to the different color schemes that you learned about, and I always think about triangle complements, that or even split complements, because it comes up because it's just more aesthetically pleasing to work that way. So another thing you can do is just because those just because it's blue doesn't mean you have to do it blue. So you can change that. Well, what if I wanted to be purple? Well then you can reinterpret this based on a totally different color scheme. Maybe I want it to be a purple dress with like yellow tone flowers. But that's an example of how you can take this. And I have this photo. I also have those photos printed out in black and white. Use a black and white photo and you can come up with different color schemes based on just the black and white. So that will probably be the next thing that we do is we'll take a subject, maybe a still life, and we're going to do different color schemes. And you're going to pick them. You'll pick what they are that you want to play with. Like you pick the complementary color scheme you want to see. It'll be simple objects. You pick the next square that you do is going to be triangle. But again, we're just starting as we got this. Another great benefit of doing a color study is you don't finish the painting and you don't get back to it for a while. And then when you do get back to it, you can't, you just feel like that's Italian to me all the time. But you can't get the same colors.
Right.
Right. So
Absolutely.
if you do this, then it's there for you.
For example, like right here, I save my palettes. I mean, in addition to the color study, I save the palette. Sometimes I let it dry out and I save it. And this one is this. I did the color study. This was the palette that I used to do the color study for this painting that I started and didn't finish. Okay, but anyway, this is the color study for that. Okay, for this painting that ended up here. Well, it's a work in progress. Well,
all of these colors, and as I was playing around with all these different colors, right? I only use these in my painting. I limit it to this, and it's largely a complementary color. But in this case, in reality, that's the way it kind of felt. Okay, this actual photograph, I felt that way. It felt very complimentary. So I went with it, and you see that I did tone up some of these colors in here. It's not as dull as what you see in this print because that's what I use color theory, right? Use more, if I see it looks like a little bit red violet, I turn it up just a little bit to make it more interesting, to make it more vibrant. Make it feel more real, than, and that compares better to the way I felt when I took the picture. Because the print doesn't do that any justice. There's a lot of color information missing from the photograph. The shadowy areas are very flat. So using color theory and what I know about value and the limitations of a photograph, all of that information and make a better study could be used for a final painting. So that's, you guys have a final painting of that? Did you actually do a final? Well, I started one. I started a small painting, so here. So here I have a start. So, I lay down the foundation, and it doesn't really have any details. But and this was a demo. So even in like there was a hint of warm breeze in there, and I ended up I did put that in here and turn it up a little bit because you can't really see a lot of the texture in that photograph for all the vegetation and trees and things. Um, it just kind of all flattened out with the print. I mean, it looks a lot better on the screen. So when I go back to this and finish it maybe someday, I'm going to go back to the digital image because the digital image, looking at the screen is a lot better than looking at the reflective of the print because you're that much farther away from what it looked like in reality. If you can't stand in front of something, the next best thing is digital image because you are still seeing it. It's you're still seeing the light reflected back to you. Whereas with a print, yeah, you're not. What you're seeing is it's printed out and it's reflected, and what you see here is whatever is reflected back on this print, which is not that great quality compared to that high-res image on your high-res screen. So that's how I was able to, I think, get a better study too. I did, I use this, but I looked more at the digital photo. So Tim, this is your color study. That's my color study. Yeah, on this. So can you picture on the camera, and then you transfer it to the computer, and then that's what you're looking at? Yeah. Yeah. Or big picture. Yeah. Well, sometimes I look at it on my phone because my pictures automatically get uploaded to my Google Photos, or I can look at it on the phone too. And then what's nice too is that if there's an area like these areas where it's hard to distinguish things, you can zoom in too. If there's something that you're having a hard time seeing, you can zoom in on and say, oh yeah, that's what it is. But there's even little people. Yeah, there's somebody in a kayak. There's somebody in a kayak over here, and then these two people are on the dock. But they're going to be steps on this little thing. It's not going to be anything, but it's kind of cool that, they're there. And if I want to see them better, I can zoom into it. I mean, they're still going to be very pixelated because they're so tiny, but at least I can see something. And the one thing I noticed too is that, now on the print, I can see that I see some rose colors in with these cool greens, right? So if I can see that the end of that on print, what that tells me is that in reality, that was a lot, that was more intense than it is here. Meaning that these colors are so much more grayed out than what they would be in reality. So again, as the artist, I have to look at this and say, I know what the limitations of, this print is, and I need to decide, okay, how am I going to um, re-inject that vibrancy in the painting because I don't want to be limited to this. So many times when people copy things from photographs, you can tell that what gives it away is the fact that their colors are just, they fall flat. Their values will fall flat because of the fact and the limitations of, especially in shadows, printed out photograph totally loses the value, the variations in the values in the shadows and the colors that you can see in shadow areas as well. So just keep that in mind. It's just something to keep in mind so that you know that you have the ability to, not, don't be afraid to turn off the color that you see and turn that on a little bit more. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Because you'll actually make a better painting. So in spite of starting out again, these were the primaries that I started with. And then this is where I'm going to give you some practice in this too. But I do what's called a mud pile. I take all my primaries, I mix them all together, and I create this mud pile. And then I add them to these colors. Add the mud? I add the mud. Yeah. So I took the colors, actually the colors that I mixed from up here, the ones that I decided I was going to use, I lined them up down here. And then I have this little block of mud. And this line here is those colors mixed with the mud. And then I took the muddy colors and I mixed it with unbleached titanium over here. And then I took that same muddy pile and I mixed it with some titanium white over there. And then I took that same muddy pile and I mixed black with it over there. And doing that really helped me get to the colors that I needed. I know it's kind of a long process, but again, it was so helpful because I was able to get exactly what I needed. And by wasting very little paint. And it was just well planned in my plan. Do I work like that all the time? No, I don't. Uh, but I know, like in hindsight, what I might do is because I've been practicing this for quite a while now, is if I can figure out what primaries I need, I kind of put everything else aside. I deal with them. I make my mud pile because I want all my colors. I want they look when they're all harmonious with each other. So I do the mud pile thing and get my primaries and secondaries out of that really mud. Then I'll mix it with white and I'll mix it with black, and then I'll get somewhere where I need to be and I'll just decide on those colors. Sometimes whether they're all there in the picture or not, just because I know that they'll work. Like you don't even have to think about color schemes in order to use that method. It'll work for you. Like, so one of the things I really want to teach you before you leave here today is how do you mix colors successfully and achieve color harmony without knowing anything about color theory. You can do that too. You don't have to go through a long, arduous process to get a color scheme that works. You can pick literally your three favorite colors, and you can mix a harmonious palette out of your three favorite colors. It doesn't matter what they are. You don't need three primaries. You can use three whatever colors that come out of two. Doesn't even matter if they're four colors. You can get them to work and create a harmonious color palette out of that. way of working, to me, is the most exciting. This could be fast. I mean, it's a great experience to have. It's something that is definitely useful to put in your toolbox. But again, like I said, it's not the end all be all. And pick colors that you feel like today. So that. So, so that's what we're after today. All I'm clear on buttons and colors, that's mixing all the colors together. Whatever primary you decide are included in your so put these up here so you know. Um, what was your question? How do you divide color? Oh, okay. There we go. I'm just looking at it when I see. That shows it pretty well. Okay. So, all right. So I wanted these yellows, this red, and a couple of these blues, right? So what I did was I took a little bit of each of these and I mixed it in this pile. I put it in that pile. Then, um, actually, where the pure color? Oh, wait. But anyway, uh, okay. So some of this looks muddy in some ways because I added that mud to some of the primaries. And you see, you get a richer color, sometimes you get a richer color. And then you can use it. I almost want to you can do like color. You take the mud color and your primaries into the primaries. Okay. That you add right back into the primaries. And then at first, when you look at all the colors, they don't look like they're related to each other, right? But in theory, if I take a little bit of every color and I do this mud pile, and then I take that mud pile and I put a little bit of mud into each color, the resulting mixture, all of these colors will then be related to each other. That's that the mud that you go back and mix into each of whatever color you choose. Now, in this case, it happens to be primary, but what I'm saying to you is that they don't it doesn't have to be. It could be any color. Like I could just randomly, like whatever. I'll just pick three colors out of your right. Okay, so what? I have pink, gray, permanent, soft green, and cadmium red. The same thing. I take these colors, right? I squeeze out some, and then I take a little bit of each and make a mud pile, and I put a little bit of mud back into those. And now these three colors will be related to each other and be harmonious with each other. They, yeah, and you could create anything. Create something abstract, and it doesn't matter. But it'll work. But actually, yeah, that's it. That's the easiest way. Create a harmonious color. So you can either go through this process, or if you're the kind of person that wants to be more intuitive with your color choices, if you're that type of artist, but yet you still want to have a harmonious color palette, you can just use the quick method. It's fine. Probably too quick. The primary. I have yet to see a tube of paint that says blue. Right. Paint that says yellow. Because there are no pure primaries. So when it comes to pigment, that only printed color wheel, that's the only place that perfection exists. So basically, basically that I would decide what the primary colors are. You don't decide what the primary colors are. The tube, the color, it's the tube that determines. We got little number, right? You don't, we can't create your primary. That's what if I'm make the color, I need yellow, I could just pick yellow. Right, you can pick yellow, which what you need to understand though is which way that yellow leads, because it's not going to be a pure primary, and it's not going to. You're not going to be able to mix it with another red and think that orange that you see on that color, because that red or that yellow is going to lean a certain way. So here, let me go back to this. So here I have the blue here. And these two reds. Look at the oranges that I think, not, there's one orange on here. That's the same. Okay? Now, when I mix yellow, the yellow that reflects green with a red that reflects violet, I get the lightest orange you could possibly get. But if I use yellow that reflects orange, plus a red that reflects orange, you add a red layer, adding a red, I'm going to get greater. Let's see, light, but if anything that's with candle is cool, even if I mix that with, I mean, I can get a brighter orange out of it if I mix it with a red that reflects orange. But the most brilliant orange is going to come if both my yellow and my red both reflect the orange. So that's just like green. Okay. I'm going to get the brightest green if I pick the yellow that reflects green plus the green, okay, instead of the blues that reflect more violet. So, testament to that fact, I have cerulean blue. Cerulean one reflects green. When I mix it with cadmium yellow light that also reflects green, that is the brightest green out of all these greens. See, each one that even though I mix the blue violets with the cadmium light, I get somewhat of a, it's still a pretty bright, but still not as bright as the other. Is going to be, you're going to get the greatest green by mixing the colors that reflect the green. And that's information from the side. It's more of a visual thing. You can get the information from the side, yeah. You can be able to tell that, but more often than not, train your eye to be able to see it. I think one of the reasons why I was having that arrange those colors around the wheel is so that you can see, you need to be able to see with your own eyes, and if you can, you'll be able to remember. Like I know now, since first time I read all that information about pigments some years ago, I don't have to look at the numbers on the tube anymore. Sometimes I do if I'm not sure. If I'm not quite sure, and I'll look for it. Is the two numbers that have a unit? Is there a unit? Yeah, and then that'll tell me whether or not that that color might reflect green, for example. But that's better. The best way is to physically look at your paints visually, try to determine if you can do that visually instead of relying on that. And again, the tone helps you. Because when you lay these colors out, and this is a tool that you keep using, you have to do all the time. Now again, different brands, you just be aware of different brands, the colors might be different. I don't like it. This is still a good start. See, I can see that's more lengthy, and this is more like a sunflower. Right? I can see that the lizard crimson is more of a wine burgundy color, and then the Canada light is more of a Canada light wine. I can see visually see that difference when I'm looking at it. I can see which red reflects more violet, which one reflects more orange. with a cerulean blue, I can see that that cerulean blue is a little bit cast a little bit more than marine than a violet. I can see the ultimate one how violet that looks. And how the cobalt blue is still kind of violet, but it's a little bit lighter than that. So again, for the purples, I'm going to get the best purple by mixing a blue that casts violet with a red that casts violet. That's going to give me the most brilliant purple. That's what I want. If I want the most brilliant violet, then I need to mix colors, blues and reds together that reflect violet. Because if I mix it with a red that reflects orange, orange cancels out blue. I need to it muddies it out. So then I know that if I mix, no matter what blue it is, if I mix that blue that's violet with a red that has an orange cast, I'm going to get a muddier purple. There are times when I don't want a muddy purple, but when I don't want a muddy purple, I need to know when I want a muddy purple versus a brilliant purple, knowing that which pigments reflect what. It helps me make that decision before I squeeze out any paint on my palette. Knowing this helps you being able to predict before you even squeeze any paint on your palette what color you need in order to get the color you want. That's kind of what we're doing. And with the color wheel too, like even with the color schemes, having the experience of, working with different color schemes, eventually you'll learn that, okay, I can see that color wheel, I know where to split complements because I know complementary colors are, red, red and green, blue and orange, and violet and yellow. I know that off the top of my head. So even when I have the color wheel in front of me, if I want to split complement, I know that, okay, yellow and violet are complements. Okay, so if I want to split complement, I'll use, I have the yellow as my key color, and I'm going to split the violet. I know that there's a red violet and a blue violet. I don't even have to look at the color wheel to know that's color scheme that I can use. Blue and orange. Blue and orange are opposites on the color wheel. If I want to split complement for that, okay, I'll use, maybe I'll use blue as a key color. Blue as a key color, and you split the orange, and you know you're going to get red orange and yellow orange. That's going to be your split there. If it's the other way around, okay, I'm going to use the orange as my key color and blue. I know the split for the blue is going to be a blue green or it's going to be a blue one. There you go. So I mean, I can see it in my head now, right? You're able to do that on your own. You don't believe that you're able to do that. But I guarantee that because once you have this information, you won't be able to stop thinking about it. It's always going to be there for you, right? It's always going to be there for you. It's just great information. And it gives us so many ideas. It just opens up your whole world to the possibilities, different possibilities of color. That is really the value of color. Is that I can tell you something when you learn color theory and how to apply it because it frees you in so many ways. You're not you're not you're no longer really going to be relegated to what a photograph can do. You can play these things, play the colors up, even in this. I played them more often than the photograph was because it added even some more orangey tones and even some yellows because which is kind of a double split compliment when you think about it. Within this little scene here, like that's was very exciting. It makes the painting more interesting and better than a photograph. You can use color theory to create paintings that better than that is that's the icing on the cake. That's it right there. That's it right there. That's your power. You are powerful as the artist because of your knowledge of that. We need to use that. We need to put that into practice.
So I have this. I did a hibiscus flower. The resulting painting is a lot nicer than this, but this is a lot simpler. I didn't do the mud pile, but these are the primaries that I found, and these were the colors, the major colors that I ended up using, and of course, well, some of the accent colors. But there was a lot. You think, oh, you know, this is just a pink hibiscus. Full pinks, there was one pink. There was orange and peachy colors. Or there were so many different colors in that beautiful flower that if I had made my assumptions, even about what I just saw in the photograph, but I actually had a little flower in front of me so I could see it outside. It was just so beautiful to look at it, to be able to train yourself to see all these different subtle variations of the different pinks that you see in there, with you know, it's more violet pinks and you have more warmer pinks. It was just really really great experience, and then to just be able to, just in general, you know, put those color notes on here. I have some violets in there too. There's violets, there's just a lot of stuff going on in here. And the resulting painting, I thought was really cool. It was really bold. Bolder than, bolder than any of the photographs that I took in this flower. And more real because of using the color theory to my advantage and just really observing what I saw. Take the time. Most of it too is taking the time to look. Take the time to look. Take the time to interpret, to see those colors that you see in nature, and just you'll be able to eliminate, eventually eliminate the step maybe of even having a detailed color study, because what you will eventually do is you're going to look outside your window, you'll look at a flower, you'll look at the trees, and you'll say to yourself, oh, that's a really beautiful tree. I know just what colors I would pick to mix to paint that tree. That's that's what eventually happens too, is that you'll go around, look around the world, and you know, the outside world or things in your house, and you'll be like, ooh, I want to paint that. And you'll already start thinking of, oh yeah, I'll use some royal blue. There you go. It'll be second nature, from second nature. I just went on. Okay. Now, I don't have a picture of that. There's another. How dull the colors are in this photograph. Was, this is no, it's not the same dress, it's a different one. That was hanging in that window. But they were kind of similar. But anyway, turn up the color from what you see in a print, right? See how much nicer that looks, how modest. It's a beautiful photograph, but it's so much more neutral and using this complementary palette, turn it up a little bit, just to make it more interesting, more vibrant, give it some life, giving life to that inanimate object. That's the goal. Okay, so we're off to do a color study. Oh, here's the other one. And that's okay. How to do a color study. So, oh, see, that was, there's my reference. Okay, so I chose a reference. In this case, we're going to be using an apple, but I'll just go through this really quick. And okay, compare your reference with the two color mixing chart you created. We're going to do this with the apple, but I'll just take you through this visual sequence. Cross-reference, trace the colors observed in your reference to the colors, okay? And was that it? Do I not have another one? Okay, and then from there, I could show you, again, back to look at that, decided what colors I needed, figured out, okay, what, what primaries made up those colors, and kind of listed them here before I came in. And then I went ahead and I mixed what I needed. So I'll go through this process with you. Because of course, there's a lot, missing here. The actual variant is missing. And that's an important piece. So at least the progression of what the thought process was. Okay. All right. So I am going to over there. You have to get some. I am going to switch back to here, and I'm going to put that little apple up there. Okay, so I have the apple there. Here's the apple. Put this, minimize this. I do want to make sure we can see what's on the screen here. I think I might switch this. I'll put this over here. And, oh, no, no, that's what you do. You don't move it on the screen. You actually move it in reality. There you go. Crazy, right? I'm starting to lose it. All right. Okay, so I want to put that up on the screen while I'm looking here. Okay. I'm going to minimize this, and then I'm going to make, oh, see, now that's nice. That's more like it for here. Take that. Oh. Okay. And, oh, before I do that, I think I want to zoom in here. Oh, that's probably going to affect my, put this down a bit. And I'm going to minimize the apple. We'll do that up here. There we go. For the purposes of this demo, let's see. There we go. That's better. Okay, minimize this. And maximize that. Put this over here. I'm going to have to, for now, get the best. You guys can see that okay? All right. Okay. I can still move that over just a little bit. Trying to get the biggest amount of space here. Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at, let's take a look at all the colors we see in the apple. All right. So now I'm looking at a digital image instead of what's in reality. Okay. But here, like I see like almost like a slight violet. This is white, but then you see this shine over here? This shine looks a little bit violet to me. Isn't that neat? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we have some kind of browns. I see some warmer reds, right? I see a warmer red over here. And then I see cooler reds and pinkish tones. And then we have like yellow greens, right? So let's see. So what do I want to decide? So I'm pretty sure that I'm going to use some cad yellow light. So I think I'm going to put that. I'm going to put for my yellow cad yellow light. I'm going to put CYL over there. And what else? I think that I'm going to need either cadmium red or cad red light. I might have a little bit of that. I'm just going to say cadmium red. And I know that I'm probably going to need like alizarin crimson for the deeper, like violets. Alizarin crimson, or if you have quinacridone crimson, you can use that. So you're going to need a warm red and a cool red. And I'm going to say, I'm going to say a cool yellow for this. Mainly a cool yellow, because we have a lot there. That apple has a lot of yellow green on it. Now, from this side, when looking at it from this side, I can see more yellow green, but it's a Honey Crisp apple, and it has, it has warm reds, cool reds, and it looks to me like it has yellow green. So that's what I'm thinking of. That's my thought process. Then I'm going to need a blue. I'm going to need to do some kind of blue. I actually see some blues in the shadow that I think are really nice. So I think that what I'm going to do, I'm going to try some blue here. Cerulean blue. And I also see some darks. Maybe I'll include, now I'm definitely going to need some titanium white and some black I might want to use some black, or I could use burnt umber. I don't think I have that on my sheet here. Burnt umber, let's take a look. Could use some burnt umber or burnt sienna even. But I think burnt umber would be better because it's cooler. Maybe I'll do that. I'm going to use some burnt umber and on the tablecloth where there's like the occlusion shadow, and up here I see a brown. Now I can also get brown. I can get brown by mixing all the primaries together. That's a possibility. Maybe I'll just leave it at that to keep it simple. Okay, I'll keep that simple, and I'll just add I'll just add the ivory black. I'll call that IB, and titanium white. And then I'm going to relist them down here because I want to know what my possibilities are.
Wait, can we have a review of the colors? What was the first one?
Cad yellow light, because that's a light yellow that reflects green. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to mix up. I want to do a two-color chart of, let's do a two-color chart of all these colors just so that we can see. We can limit it to that. I think that's a good way to go to start with, to ease you into the next step of down selecting from your colors. Okay, so we'll start. Sure. Cad yellow light, cadmium red, alizarin crimson, cerulean blue. I'm going to say CEB. I'm going to say ivory black and titanium white. You know what? Let's add that as an extra color. BU, burnt umber. We'll add that. Why not? We're going to be mixing colors. We might as well add that too, just to see what we get there. So, okay. So, looking at, loosely looking here, I'm thinking that these are the colors that I might want to start with for my mixtures. So that means I'm going to have to go over and get those colors. Go over and get those colors.
get, I'm not sure I will have that. And mix them first. I'll let you guys go. Most of you are. Go ahead. I'm taking these colors, put them on my palette because I like to get the mixture and I forget what I have. My color chart.
So let me put this aside. I don't really need that. This and okay, so I'm just focused on making my little color chart. I'm gonna put the pure colors. Oh, I forgot to skip a space. See, I should know better, right? On both ends. It's going to be fun. All right. Oh, I didn't put alizarin crimson on there. I put magenta. Oh, I got to get rid of that. Although that actually probably would work, but it's not deep enough. I'll have to take that color off. It's really not that different. It is deeper. We need that candy apple red. It's the only way to get that. Those are in crimson. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's okay. And, so now this is now. So again, what we're going to have to skip. We're not going to be mixing. We're not going to mix this. Make it. It's going to be the top half. I'm going to put mine in the top half of the triangle. Okay, so I'm going to take some of the yellow. Remember when we were talking about when we were color mixing that um, when we mix, we're just going to mix Um, you mix the darker value color into the lighter value color. Really quick. Ooh, you know what? With that yellow makes a muddy orange color that I see in the apple. I like that. See? Before we were talking about, if you want the brightest orange. Well, in this case, I don't want the brightest orange, and this is going to work well. I like that. Let's see what happens when we mix. And I actually like the cadmium red. The cadmium red mixed with the alizarin crimson makes a nice red too that I see in the apple. That's cool. Green in this here apple. So I'm going to take the yellow and I'm going to add just a little bit of the cerulean blue to it to see what I get. Because I don't want it to be too dark. It's going to come out dark anyway. I should have used that. But anyway, kind of in the ballpark. And that's really bright green. That green I'm going to make a note to myself that the green on that apple, the yellow green, isn't necessarily that bright. So, well, I can always add a little bit of red to it. Right now, I'm going to take more yellow to add to it so that it's a lighter value. And it's more of a light yellow green. So I know I'm going to have to adjust that some. That's okay. Back to my chart and take a look at what I can help that. And then I need cerulean blue with cadmium red. That gives me a color that I can use in the shadow, I think, close to it. Ooh, see that it created this muddy violet that looks great, muddy, deep, grayed out violet that'll look really good in the shadow. So make that, that's cool. That's gonna work nice. Okay. And then next, I'm gonna have the alizarin crimson with the cadmium red. Not no. The alizarin crimson with the cerulean blue. That good? Yeah.
So we're taking each color, like the cadmium yellow light, and mixing it with cadmium red and with the crimson and I mean, is that what you're doing?
Right, yeah. Ivory black to mix with all these great colors, and that's going to be cool. That's going to look good. All right, so I'm going to take yellow. I'm going to take just a little bit of the black because I don't want too much black in there. You know what? This reflects a little bit of the blue. So this gets me, ooh, this gives me a nice green color, muted green color that I might be able to mix with this to dull that a little bit. That's a possibility. Let's take a look here. I like that. Then ivory black with the cadmium red. When I'm mixing with black, I put a little bit of the color. I put the other color on first and then I add the black to it. Now for this particular apple, I don't really see this kind of red, so I might not use it. I don't know. Maybe a lighter version of it. Crimson with the black. Might work in some spaces. I'm not sure. Out on that one. Oh, ivory black with the cerulean blue. Mm-hmm. Cerulean. Hmm. See, now this is a color I don't think I'm going to use. I don't know. Doesn't look like it applies. We have titanium white mixed with all the colors. So I'll take some white. All of these spaces. 1, 2, 3. Okay, mix it yellow. Cadmium red for the next one. Ooh, I might be using some of this. Not sure. Maybe mixed with something else. Oh, I do think it's there. I do think I see some of this pink in that one. See that? maybe even with a little bit of blue mixed into it, it would be better. But I get a ballpark color here. Mm-hmm. Oh, I might see this. I see a little bit of this in the shadow area. In combination with the one next to it. See a bunch of different colors in the shadow, so this looks like it's pretty exciting. And then of course we're going to just get a gray here. I'm not so sure we'll be able to use. And then everything mixed with the burnt umber. All right. So we take some burnt umber, and then yellow. This is a neat golden color that I do think I see in there. So this is going to be really useful for helping me, or helping us down the main colors that we think we see in here. And it'll also give us a hint as to what um, maybe what third colors we can add to get it closer to what we see in the apple. But this is good for us to do right here because this is going to be our ballpark. It's going to be our limited palette of ballparks, right? Maybe some of them we can use, maybe some of them need to be tweaked, but this is going to give us a nice little, uh, nice little library of stuff to use. Burnt umber to the crimson. Ooh, that's a good color. I don't know where I would use that though. I think maybe it's yeah, could use a little bit more of the burnt umber to really change it. It's a nice rich color. What? There might be a hint of it on this side, up in this corner of the apple, next to that browner color. I'm thinking I can use that. And okay, so we need the burnt umber mixed with the cerulean blue. I think that's going to be pretty exciting. Create this dull blue. I see this color in the cast shadow. Yes, I think I do. That's cool. Burnt umber and ivy black. Well, that's just going to make for a darker brown, but let's just mix it up and see what we got. And the burnt umber Wait. Hmm. Hmm. I think I can use that too on that other side of the apple where it's like a lot of looks kind of brownish to me. That side. Okay. Thing. Well, I guess we don't have time. But is I have all those primaries, right? Let's see. I have all these primaries. What I would like to do is see what they look like with mud.
My watercolors.
Hmm?
I did that with my watercolors and
Yeah.
watercolors.
Okay, good. You did it. Okay, great. Awesome with the mud. Yeah. So my next step would be just to just to get a feel for well, you know what? I'm not. We shouldn't do that until we figure out or down select first. I think. Right. I like to add the mud though. I like the way that mud.
Mud with the cadmium yellow, really cool like that.
Mm-hmm.
Color.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a little bit of everything to make it mud color.
Yeah. Let's play around with that, and we'll. You know what? I'm gonna say. All right, so I'm gonna put the mud. I'm gonna say mud over here, right? Mud over here, and I'm gonna make the mud, and then I'm gonna put a smudge there, and then just each of the primaries at least. We'll put the swatch of the mud there, and with each of the primaries that we picked, plus whatever the extra color is, use a little bit of mud with them so that you can see what it looks like. Because I think that that's a good, so here, we got that, reds, Put in meal. Did not put in meal. Anything already? I probably put too much in it. More blue, more the color. I need my mud pile. Muddy color. There. And then I know that what I want to do is I want to mix the mud into each of my colors real quick. Put some mud next to each. Mix a little bit of it. And pop that down really quick before we add the manure with mud. Some good ideas about mud. That looks good. The muddier, the slightly muddier colors are really rich. After I do the mud, what I like to do is I like to take, it's like those colors with the mud plus white and then plus black. So it's M plus white and M plus black. Whatever. When we mix those color, the muddy colors, I want you to take the muddy color, mix it with a little bit of white and do a line there. And then take the colors mixed with mud and mix it with a little bit of black and make a separate line there. Just so that you can see, you have like this average and then you can see the two different values. You can see the tint or shade of the muddy color. Because we already have tints and shades of our pure primaries up here. But it's nice to also see what the tints and shades of the mud is, the muddy color is. And from here, we're going to have like so many possibilities to pick from. And we're going to be able to really pick a nice color palette, which, again, it still might have to be a little bit, we might have to add, a third color, but the mud serves as further making sure of color almost because having the third color, because it's a combination, remember, the mud is a combination of all the colors. So I have it with ivory black, and that's going to be pretty dark. Okay, next one? Yes. Yeah, because then we're going to continue with it. That, and then we have mud with white. So the mud is just primary color. Yeah, I just mixed all the primaries together. I didn't include the extra colors. And, and with burnt umber. Mud with burnt umber. Let's see what that looks like. I do like the mud with the burnt umber. I have to say that looks like a pretty useful color to me. Yeah, I think I'm going to mix it with white first. I'm not dark to me. I might not go ahead and I might just do the line with the white. And sometimes that happens. It all depends on the color palette, how that so you more useful on the white is just to mix it with white real quick. That's what I'm gonna do. Take my white color with the white. And that's gonna oh my god. This right here I think might be close to a really good shade to mix in with that light yellow green because yeah, I think that gets me closer to what I need. It's going to be somewhere in between the cerulean blue and cerulean and cad yellow light with a little bit of that muddy color. Maybe that'll do it. We'll see.
Many colors, do you generally like to use those for the background? Not a pigment?
No, sometimes that not sometimes they apply in the shadowy areas and some of the more neutrals that I see on this side. I'm thinking that it might apply there for some variation of it. Looks good. This even looks pretty good. This looks like mud. Yes, uh, right. Yeah, and as you can see, even from some of the sample color studies I have, with the exception of that flower, almost all the other ones have a muddier palette. But it's a richer palette. But we need to. But this is how we get there. This is how we get those beautiful. I would call these are like chromatic grays. When you start mixing all these different colors together, they all get desaturated and they get grayed out. But they have color in them, so they're considered chromatic grays. Ooh, that mud with the alizarin printed. A little bit more violet and really beautiful. Okay, so next time we're going to continue with our color study with the apple.
When you're mixing your palette, if you're going to different, you don't have to really rush when you're using oils because they'll stay good overnight.
Right. Yeah, and even well with watercolors, you can reconstitute them too if you can always spritz those in your palette and reanimate them. Yeah, this is yeah with the oils you don't have to. But what I love about doing this method here is that when I am working with acrylics, I mean yes, there's a way for me to keep my acrylics wet. We can keep them wet, but if I want to work quickly and not have it all dry out, if I'm just looking at one of these palettes, this is incredibly useful because I only mix a moment and then I can go on, as I need those colors. With oils, we always have everything at our disposal at once. It stays wet, but with acrylics, it's a little bit trickier. Even, but they have golden, but that's expensive. That's not cheap. Yeah, not cheap at all. So for some of us, that's not really much of an muddy black. I like the muddy black. I think that this could go in the background somewhere. Some of these will work well in the background too.
Actually, one of these colors templates.
Yep, it's all right. Takes time.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Sometimes I redo myself too. I'm like, no, that doesn't work. And it's okay. Thanks. Mud with titanium white.
Do you use this? Do you limit it to maybe 3 or 4, or too many too much?
As many as I think I need. Yeah. Yeah. I don't. Yeah, I don't predetermine. I don't have a predetermined number. I don't set a number. It all depends on what I think I need. And that's all right.
Then once you have those colors that you mix, you might get a little more of a yellow to it.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And that would probably happen. That happens when you're actually working on the study itself.
Mhm.
When you're like you're taking these colors that you kind of pre-mixed, but then what happens is on your palette, you'll decide to maybe add a third color or punch it up or do a different. And then that's what I do with the remaining space is if I mix a color that's a result of some of these colors up here, right? I'll make a note of it there and I'll, right. Or, and sometimes I put notes with, okay, this is what I saw in the sky. If it's a different color, if it's a pure color from up here, then I might make an arrow or make a note and say, okay, that was the sky color because I want to remember that in case I have to go back into it. Especially with acrylics, with oils, maybe not so much. But yeah, anytime I make a resulting color from what's already here, I make another swatch and I'll make a note of where I used it. Whether it be, okay, that's the flower or that's the shadow part of the dress or whatever it might be. The peachy color that I saw on the flower. Like in the study where I have the snow, I actually include that. Okay, some of the light areas of the snow, like if there was a peachy color, or if there was a light violet, like on the ice or whatever it was. That that muted green that was in the trees. I'll take that one color that I used, and then I'll use the remaining space to actually label maybe the different parts so that I remember. Exactly. Yeah, and that's what happens. So I can take any of those studies that I've done before, and I can create a whole new paint, another copy of that painting. I already have it all figured out. I don't have to sit there and figure that out again. I can literally be a factory after that. I can create a painting factory. Here's the sketch. There's the colors. Plop it on, and I'm done. I can get it done so much faster because of all that work and all that information that I already have out there laid out for me. It just really works well. Okay, thanks. So yeah, Apple demo. I'm gonna leave this the Apple demo so that because I have various ones in different states of completion. Oh, and one the other thing I like to do is I like to take a picture of my palette if I'm not going to save it. If I'm not going to save it, I'll take a picture of the mess. Oh, so of my messy palette. It's it's pretty messy. Yeah.
But I've done that in the past.
Another example. think I'm gonna put that apple in the refrigerator.
Here, no, you throw it out.
Huh?
Nobody.
But
What is that? They'll say, that looks really good. Doesn't look. Thank you. He's a quiet, I just told him, another staff, some other guy. And I mentioned this crab class, and so she started taking up this. Yeah, it really is. Yeah, that's so wonderful. I love that. Anyway, thank you. My folder of cloud pictures that I because we can always use. I love reference pictures, that anybody donates on I love it. I'm just what was that? That you don't have a birthday gift like that. Watercolor lines. And it's like $600 off the regular price. So how much does it cost? There's three prices. One was $359, $497, and $1,000. So I took the middle one because it also will give me references for the next 60 days. Whereas the cheaper one you only get 7 days. Okay. And then I'll get but anyway, I really like watercolor. I've been mostly doing oils lately. Yeah. And I just thought, well, and it's supposed to be, all most famous watercolor artists. Yeah, we've heard of it. So, but it does say that, if you, after the first day, you not usually religion like that. Okay. I thought, well, I have nothing to lose here. I mean, I know. Right. Yeah. Decide that it's not for me, then at least for me, you get it. Okay, so I don't put it in Atlantic City for the next 6 months. Put it there.